we go now! Welcome to a very, very special edition of Guys and Bets for Friday, the 27th day of December. It is the Football Friday edition of the program, and as you can tell by the look, the camera angle that we're using here today, a bit of a different show today, a bit of a different layout. Ninja was supposed to be here, but he caught a pretty nasty infection from a tattoo he was getting across his stomach there on Christmas Day, so he's laid up. He's out of the hospital, thankfully, but he should be back by Monday. He has some antibiotics, so hopefully those kick in over the weekend. So we're going to do this a little bit differently today. Usually we wait and bring in our guests Harry and Pamela after the two in-house hosts do our picks. But since they cover college football and the college football games are the biggest ones of the week, we're going to start with them and we're going to bring in our guy Harry. Hello, Harry. Are you there?
Joe, what's up? How are you, man?
There he is. I am fantastic. How are you?
All good, man. All good. I got both teams, Ohio State and Clemson, staying within 5 minutes of where I live right now. So maybe try to get a little inside info as the week progresses here, and leading into tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay, so let me ask you before we get into this, Harry, are you willing to put it all on the line and risk your entire reputation? And if you don't go 2-0 with these picks, walk away from the world of sports betting altogether?
Can't do that. I guess I could. What kind of reputation do I have? It's not much, so it's not. I'm not really risking a lot, right?
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so enough small talk here, Harry. Let's get into it. The game I'm looking forward to most this weekend is Ohio State versus Clemson. What's your best bet for this one?
Yeah, really, Joey, I do like Clemson. I like Clemson a lot. Lay the points. Since their 21-20 scare versus North Carolina, they have rolled everyone in their path, outscoring their opponents 415-78. And that includes hanging 62 on Virginia in the ACC championship game. Both teams have great defenses, but Clemson's, I feel, is a bit better. They led the nation in giving up just 10.6 points per game. The team is led by linebacker Isaiah Simmons. He had 125 tackles this year, 7.5 sacks. Safety Tanner Muse had 4 picks, and linebacker Chad Smith with his next tackle will have 100, and he had 3.5 sacks this year. Obviously, Clemson is loaded with weapons on offense. Trevor Lawrence started slow for the beginning of the season, but still wound up with 41 total touchdowns. Travis Etienne, the running back, 1,800 yards this season. And T. Higgins and Justin Ross, their two best wide receivers, 21 total touchdowns this year, Joe. So all this equals a win for Clemson and a shot to win back-to-back national championships, and 3 out of the last 4. I got Clemson winning by 8, 37-29.
Okay, I tend to like Clemson in that one as well. I think people might be undervaluing them a little bit, judging them based on their lack of competition throughout the regular season, but that was the exact same thing that we saw last year, and we saw what happened against Notre Dame in that game. Kicking off the semifinals, though, here we have Oklahoma, LSU. What do you got?
You know what, Joe? In this one, let's see a lot of points here. I'm going to go with the over 75.5. Oklahoma's history hasn't been that great recently when they've been in these championship games on defense. In 2016, they give up 37 to Clemson. In 2017, 54 to Georgia. And last year, 45 to Alabama. A lot of points given up on Oklahoma's side. Big 12, not very lucky in these championship games. The Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Burrow for LSU, has been unbelievable as we've seen. He broke the SEC record for passing touchdowns in the season with 48. 32 of them went to All-American wide receivers Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Chase has 850 yards in his last 5 games and 9 total touchdowns. He's been something else. LSU was 3rd in the nation in scoring at 48 a game, 1st in yards per game at 554. And Joe, 3rd in 20-yard plays at 93 20-plus yard plays this season. Oklahoma will get theirs too. They're 3rd in the nation in yards. Hurts had 50 total touchdowns and almost 1,300 yards rushing. Sooners wide receivers CeeDee Lamb and Charleston Lambeau combined for almost 2,000 yards receiving this year, and those two had 20 total touchdowns. I think this equals a big-time shootout. 49-31. I got the Tigers winning over the Sooners. 49-31. That's 80 points, if my math is correct, over the 75.5 on Saturday, Joe.
Okay, so usually at the conclusion of your picks, I like to tease you a little bit and say it's a trap, but I happen to agree with you on both of these, my man, so I will wish you good luck with those.
Thanks, pal. Let's do it.
Anything in the NFL which you would consider to be a best bet type of a situation here?
Yeah, you know what? Two real quick, Joe. I like the Giants. I think you can play the Giants on the money line. 77 points the last 2 weeks. Daniel Jones had 5 touchdowns last week. Saquon Barkley almost 300 yards. And I think Philly's just a mash unit. I know they did play an inspiring game last week and now hold the NFC East in their hands. But I think the Giants can get this done. And also Atlanta, Tampa, over 47.5. Real quick, Jameis Winston's going to go over 5,000 yards this week. Atlanta scored 148 points in their last 5 wins. They've got 93 points in the last 3 games. They've been on fire. Tampa's put up big numbers too. 11 of the last 13 Tampa games have gone 50 points or more. So without any playoff implications in that game, let's see a shootout in the big sombrero. I see that game going way over 47.5.
Okay, good stuff, Harry. So that does it for your Football Friday 2019 appearances, but you will be back next week. So we wish you all the best for the conclusion of 2019 and your best through the weekend, and we will see you next year, of course.
Thanks, buddy. Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, Harry. Okay, so how about something that you can actually bet on today, guys? For that, we're going to go deep into the heart of Texas, where we will be joined by our girl, Pamela, and she's got a bet for today's USC versus Iowa game. Pamela, how you doing?
Good. Happy holidays.
Same to you. So big spot, USC, Iowa. What do you got?
I'm going to roll with Iowa today. I think through 9 full games, USC quarterback Slovis has thrown for over 3,100 yards, averaging 350 yards per game, 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But Iowa does have a defense that will contend Slovis' ability, and the Hawkeyes are 4th best in the country in opponent scores per game, limiting opponents to just 13 points on average. They are 4th best in opponent red zone scores, 10th in opponent yards per game. They did, however, give up 368 passing yards to Minnesota as 2-point favorites, but they still managed to win that by 4 points. USC has faced tough defenses, but Slovis himself, he only had 2 snaps against Utah. He played the full game against Notre Dame, but he had 3 interceptions against Oregon and was not behind center during Washington. So it's a bit of an unknown as to how well he's going to perform against this Iowa team, who is top 10 in defending the pass. Defensively, Iowa is weaker against the run. The Hawkeyes slipped against Wisconsin, giving up over 300 yards on the ground, and they lost by just 2 points. We know that USC is a one-dimensional offense. They're 107th in rushing yards per game, 84th in yards per attempt. In their 4 losses, the Trojans averaged 160 yards of rushing offense and a low 91 against Oregon. So aside from Wisconsin, Iowa gave up nearly 200 rushing yards to both Nebraska and Illinois and won both of those games by 9 and 3 points. So if USC wants a shot here, I think the key is to be balanced and not be one-dimensional. But running back Vave Malepie hit 100 rushing yards just once this season. USC is 117th in giveaways, 90th in fumbles lost per game, and holds a negative turnover margin versus a top 25 Iowa team. So I think the defense for Iowa will have to shine in this game. So I'm always going to lean towards a stronger defense, and I'll take them at -2.
Okay, I love the deep dive into the numbers there as always. You have another best bet. It's for another Iowa school, Iowa State. You got a pretty good spot here. What's your best bet for Iowa State Notre Dame?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Iowa teams. I'm going to go with the Cyclones +3.5 versus Notre Dame. The Cyclones are one of the worst teams in the country. They're 107th in converting on 3rd downs. But I don't even think that really matters because 3 of their 5 losses were by 2 points or less. 1 was by 7 points. They can't convert, yet they are still winning games or losing in close ones. It was only in their closing game against Kansas State that did they lose by more than a touchdown, 27-17. It was also in that game where their lack of converting really was detrimental. Against the Wildcats, Iowa State was 1 of 13 on 3rd down efficiency. No interceptions, no turnovers. Strictly, they couldn't convert on 3rd. Kind of incredible to think about, but again, the Cyclones had only a single 3rd down conversion in 60 minutes of football. So now what will happen against Notre Dame? Iowa State already struggles as it is, and Notre Dame is a top 35 team in limiting its conversions. I think it comes down to Notre Dame's play calling. I say this because the Cyclones struggled the most against a one-dimensional run-first team, Kansas State had the ball for 9 minutes longer and produced only 57 yards of passing, but 231 rushing yards. 3 of Iowa State's 4 losses were against teams that were pass-heavy and ran for 100 yards or less. So if Notre Dame sticks to the pass or keeps it to a balanced offense, then based off of the games that they've played this season, I like Iowa State's chances of keeping this close. During bowl games, the number one thing people talk about is motivation. Notre Dame, a 10-2 team that had a shot of something better than the Camping World Bowl. Tie that with the fact that offensive coordinator Chip Long left the program. I think that both of those factors make this game really interesting. Will the loss of Long affect Ian Book and the offense? Do they have the motivation to even be here? I do think so, based off of how they ended off their season. They finished off pretty strong. But still, tying that in with the fact that Iowa State is 2-0 against the spread as an underdog this season, 19-8 as a dog since 2016. I like them to at least fight till the clock says 0.
Spots there to back the Iowa teams, but that's not all you have for us. You have some other very useful information for bowl bettors up on oddshark.com. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm doing a blog on every single bowl game.
Wow.
It's for you understand for stats, we look at stats, so I'm looking at absolutely every game, more analysis than I've ever done all season. It's really interesting because I've had some really good money line opportunity, like La Tech yesterday. Take the plus, but also take them on the money line, plus 185. So there's some good information out there. I'm putting everything as a lean just to keep things, let people decide what they want to do with that information. But yeah, it's a lot of good content.
All right, I love it, Pamela, and I love all the work you've done for us here in 2019. So I thank you for that. And I guess we'll say until 2020, we'll see you then.
See you in 2020.
Okay, thank you, Pamela and Harry. So that does it for the college football portion of the Football Friday show. We're going to get into my NFL picks. And guys, last time you saw me, I was coming off a sweep on the Football Friday show last week and a sweep the day before that. So back-to-back sweeps for your boy. So I'm going to go for a hat trick of sweeps here with my guys and bets picks, which would tie an all-time best. So fingers crossed for me. And we're going to start things off. It is, without a doubt, the biggest game of the weekend. Number 1 seed on the line in the NFC. We have the San Francisco 49ers. Thank you. They're in Seattle. And I like the underdog Seahawks at plus 3.5. Here is why. When I saw this bet up to 3.5, I immediately thought this was an overreaction to Seattle's embarrassing loss to the Cardinals last week and jumped all over it. Seattle is fantastic at throwing people off the scent and bouncing back after a bad performance, evidenced by their 9-1-1 ATS record following an ATS loss. Another thing the Seahawks are fantastic at is playing up to the competition, as they've gone 9-1 ATS in their last 10 as an underdog, including outright wins in 3 of 4 this season. They've also covered in 9 straight as an underdog at home, and I think they can keep things close versus a 49ers defense that's starting to crack a little bit. San Fran has allowed at least 29 points in 3 straight games, ranking 29th in opponents' third down conversion percentage during the span. To conclude, if you watch this show, you know I love to talk about how much of a monster the Seahawks are in prime time. Here's a rundown. They're 14-2 ATS in their last 16 night games as an underdog. They're 14-4-1 ATS in their last 19 divisional night games. And they're 16-4-2 ATS in their last 22 night games at home. So, for all of these reasons, I think this looks like a fantastic spot for the Seahawks on Sunday night. Moving along. Oh, come in.
Joe?
Yeah, that's me. Was that my order?
Yeah. All right. Is this like a YouTube?
Yeah, we're doing a YouTube. We're live right now. We're doing a YouTube show. Speed it up a bit here.
Sorry.
What's the damage?
$10.
$10 bucks?
Even.
There you go. $10.
Thank you. Did you mean to give any more?
I did not.
Okay. Have a good one, man.
Yeah. See ya. Happy holidays. All right. Lunch for later. All right, moving right along with the rest of my picks, we have a divisional matchup taking place in Kansas City with the Chargers in town. It's a big spread at -9, and I like Kansas City here. Here's why. It is one of my favorite betting spots in the NFL, taking the Chiefs to cover in divisional matchups. They're on a run that's seen them go 17-4 ATS versus AFC West counterparts, which includes a perfect 5-0 ATS mark this season. A big story coming into this game is the complete 180 that this KC defense has done, as they're on a stretch that's seen them allow an average of just 7.75 points over their last 4 games. This includes allowing just 3 points in back-to-back games. And if you're concerned about the Chiefs taking their foot off the gas because it's Week 17, well, you shouldn't be. Andy Reid has coached the Chiefs to 5 straight Week 17 wins, including a 35-3 win over the Raiders in Kansas City last year. So expect them to be motivated to close out their regular season with an elite performance. Yeah. All right, guys, so before I do my final pick here, I'm going to take a drink of water. Usually when I'm on the set here with Ninja or Ian or one of the other guys, you have a bit of a water break in between picks, so just bear with me here. I highly recommend always staying hydrated, and that leads us into my final pick of the show, the final pick of the final Football Friday show of 2019. We have the Steelers in Baltimore taking on the Ravens. Very low total in this one, 37, and I still like it to go under. Here are my reasons. So, if you take the MVP and his best running back and best pass catcher out of the lineup, what do you think will happen? I think we'll see a lot less scoring from the Ravens as a result. They will be without the league's #1 offensive threat, Lamar Jackson, given RG3 the start in this one. Mark Ingram will also sit, while Mark Andrews is also unlikely to play. This will result in a significant drop-off in offensive production. Still, though, they might be better than the Steelers' offense, which will be led by Devlin Hodges, who's thrown 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions in his last 2 games. Pittsburgh's offense has been a disaster, ranking dead last in red zone TD scoring percentage for the season and over its last 3 games. They're also having trouble converting on 3rd down, where they rank 26th for the season. To conclude, Pittsburgh has gone under in every single road game so far this season and in 12 of 15 overall. This is mainly due to a stingy defense that ranks 3rd in opponent yards per play and they've allowed fewer than 20 points in 8 of their last 10. So for all those reasons, I think we're going to see a very low scoring game in Baltimore on Sunday. So that about does it for the Football Friday show. A few of you guys have been asking about a teaser for this week. I usually do one every show, but I'm not really in love with any spots in Week 17. Week 17 is a much different week, very tricky to handicap because you don't know about motivation, and sometimes that motivation can get, or your perceived motivation can get you in trouble with your handicapping. A lot of people typically think when you have a team with a winning record playing a team with a losing record that the team with the winning record will be more motivated. Not necessarily the case, guys. You got to consider that a lot of these bad teams playing the Dolphins, the Giants, the Redskins, they have coaches and players who are fighting for more money, contracts, promotions next season, jobs for next season. So keep that in mind with your handicapping. So I don't know if I'm going to have a teaser this week. If I do, I will put it out on Twitter. One team I think is in a pretty good spot to be teased 6 points, so is the Miami Dolphins. You can get them all the way up to plus 22. The reason why I think this is a pretty good spot for them, if the Patriots get up by a few scores, they're likely to take Tom Brady and all the boys out of the lineup, so that might open the back door for the Dolphins to make that one a little bit closer. Or if they don't pull their starters, it means because it's probably a relatively close game. So I like the Dolphins at plus 22. NBA, of course, I have a few spots for you guys. NBA, by the way, shout out to our guy Gilles Gallant, who went 5-0 with his NBA Christmas Day picks. I didn't fare as well. I went 1-2. That kind of stunk. But one of my favorite spots tonight, the Bucks, you can get them at minus 11 in Atlanta. Of course, they're coming off that awful loss on Christmas Day where they got destroyed by the 76ers. I didn't really see that one coming. Anyways, They are 21-5-1 against spread after a regular season loss since the beginning of last season. If you're scared off by that big spread, -11 on the road, I don't know if you should be. The Hawks routinely get their asses absolutely handed to them. They're last in point margin, and they have 15 double-digit losses since November 6th. Another one that I like is the Miami Heat on the first quarter spread. You get them at -1.5 with the Pacers in town. They start fast at home, 11-3 ATS at home with the league best +7 point margin. So those are my 2 favorite NBA spots. Those were my 3 favorite NFL spots. You heard the picks from Harry and Pamela, but the picks and information is not just restricted to Guys and Bets. We have you covered for a ton of sports all over oddshark.com. Joe Glant just put his Pick 6 article out. Scotty Hastings has a bunch of stuff out. Check out Harry and Pamela's Twitter feeds. Check out my Twitter feed, damn it. And yeah, so a bit of a different show today, like I said. Me and here by myself, it felt a little bit unusual, but we will wish Ninja well on his recovery. I'm looking forward to eating my lunch there, and we will be back on Monday. Business as usual. We'll be off New Year's Day next week, but business as usual picks up again next week. Guys and Bets, same time, same pace, and as I always like to say, good luck to me, good luck to you, good luck to all of us.